You're listening to Empire by Design, episode 79.
Hey, I'm Katie White, coach, consultant, transformation facilitator, action taker, empire builder, and this is Empire by Design. In this show, we're building empires, we're sharing stories, and we're getting up close and personal on the strategies that make an empire in today's online world. Get all the show notes, past episodes and more at katiewhite.me. For now, settle in for the ride.
Hello, Empire Builders. Welcome back to the show. In today's episode, this week's episode, it's just me and you, and it's just going to be a quick one, well, quicker than usual, but I want to talk to you about audience growth. The reason I want to talk to you about it, well, specifically what I want to talk to you about is if audience growth is something that you are focused on, and I'm talking specifically about your podcast audience, but this applies for really any audience growth at all, then I'm going to share 3 ways for you to really, implement some stuff to grow your audience. The reason this is a hot topic for me at the moment is because in my podcast Empire membership community, we are all together participating in a year-long growth challenge. So every single month I am giving the members a challenge and we're all working at it and we all set goals. So we're basically working towards a growth goal for November 30. We've each got our own goal and each month I give us a new challenge. The reason I'm making this challenge go for so long is because, as you may have heard me say, podcasting is a marathon, not a sprint strategy. So you can't just do a 5-day growth challenge, for example, and expect to see results. It's something that unfolds over time and you've got to, you can't just take a challenge and do it once. You've got to try these things consistently for a while or implement them consistently. So it's hugely fun. And I just wanted to cover off three little ways that you can be growing your own podcast audience on today's show. And what I want to encourage you to do, if you enjoy this episode and you want more ideas for how to grow your audience and you want to participate in the challenge alongside all of us, come and join the community. The community is amazing. We're just an intimate bunch. It's still pretty small, which means you get a lot more of me time. And we have a private Facebook group. We have a private website where I upload a new training every month. Last month, I created every single guest email and template you would need to launch and run your interview-based show. So that was February's training. And I also hot seat a podcast from a member's podcast. So I will listen to all of the shows or, unless there's like a million of them, I'll listen to their show and I will give them some really deep feedback on the show. We also have a live call every month, although we're doing 2 a month at the moment, so that all my new podwellers can ask lots of new baby questions, which is heaps of fun as well. And we basically support each other and we share geeky podcasting stuff that gets us all excited. So if you are podcasting and you are interested in getting some support on your journey and being part of this growth challenge, come and join us. It's $37 a month, or you can get a whole year for $370, saving you 2 months. And you get to hang out with me all the time online. How good is that? But anyway, let's get into the show. So the first thing that I really want you to think about before we get into the 3 ways to grow your show is to really determine if growth is your goal. Because, it's not all about numbers, and often you'll be feeling and I see this with my clients all the time, you'll be feeling like its numbers are your target and that you're disappointed somehow with the numbers that you have or you'd like more, but it's actually engagement that you're looking for. It's people reaching out to you. It's people posting on social media that they're loving your show. It's people sharing your show. So I want you to really think about whether growth is your goal, whether growth is the right metric for you to be measuring your podcast against. And the reason you can often know that is because sometimes you'll set a numerical goal and you'll hit it and it will still feel a bit empty. And so I encourage you to get really curious as to why that's feeling empty, because the chances are you've probably got the wrong metric. So we just had a podcast Empire call just before I've recorded this one actually. And this one came up actually, how do we get more engagement, particularly from people, especially if we have an audience that we think is not active engagers on social media. So, the people that are this might be you, they're in the Facebook groups, they're reading all the comments, they're reading all the posts, but they're not liking anything and they're not commenting on anything. But then we know they're there because they might buy something from you, or, they might just one day comment and you'll realize that they've been there all along, but it's something has been stopping them the whole way along, or something happened to get them to step up and comment. So we were talking about how you engage that person. It was a really good conversation. The other thing that I've kind of realized myself, and I'm almost making this mistake myself. As you know, I've set myself a goal to get 100,000 downloads on my show in 2017. So please help me and share the show. But what I've also done is I've made some decisions about getting more niched. So you'll hear me talking a lot more about podcasting and the platform and brand growth and authority building and influencer building, all of the things that really revolve around the podcasting platform for me. And niching like that can actually cause slower growth, because it might be a smaller market that you're going after. Whereas before I was kind of hedging my bets. I was for the entrepreneur. I'm talking about the more general empire building, and then I'm throwing in a little bit of podcasting along the way. Whereas the fact is that right now my business and my empire building is about the podcasting platform. And so I want to niche in on that a little more. Not entirely, but that is my focus. And it's scary because I go, there's going to be so many less people than the broader entrepreneur market. But I know that I'm likely to get much tighter engagement. So I'm almost kind of gone against my own 100K goal. I still have the 100K goal because I think I can niche and hit 100 both at the same time. But do you get what I'm saying about sometimes if we make a decision to niche, and I think a decision to niche is never going to be a bad decision, that it can really, what you might see as a spin-off from that before you see growth is engagement. So it comes back again to what is your metric and is it the right one? But let's get into the 3 ways. So the first way is really looking at what you can do on your own show to grow your audience. If someone is listening to your show, they're in your audience right then and there, but are they subscribed? So are they downloading every episode that you're releasing? Are they coming back again and again? So it's really important to always make it really easy for people to follow you, follow your show, and to make it really easy for them by reminding them, specifically tell them what you're asking them to do. Subscribe to the show so that you will always see my new episodes, and And, it will help me find more people like you. And then once you've got them subscribed and they are a part of your audience, then you want to use them as champions of your show. So how can they spread the word? Ask them to, this is really about calls to action. And I think anyone listening has listened to a podcast has heard the usual call to action around subscribe, rate and review the show, which is a totally valid request. But I feel like it's started to lose its meaning or visibility. I think people zone out when it gets said. So I encourage you to get more specific about the way that you are asking people, what you are asking people to do. So it might be, can you pause the episode, go into the app you're using, subscribe to the show and leave me a review. And here's an example of a review that I got left last week. Being more specific like that really shows people exactly what you want them to do and how you want them to do it. And I actually think that has a much bigger impact. So give them examples of the feedback that you want. Read them an email aloud. All of those things really make it so obvious. People kind of, when they're confused about what you want them to do, or they're worried that they might get it wrong and look silly, especially when we're dealing with the podcast platform, which is not the most intuitive place to hang out and review things. I think that you need to make it safe and easy for people to do what you're asking them to do. So that is number one. What can you do on your own show? Use specific calls to action. The second thing you can do to grow your show is, what can you do to spread the word? What can you do to get your audience to spread the word for you? And not just your audience, but this is about finding referrals and partners to find new audience members. So this could be as simple as going on as a guest on somebody else's show because they're already talking to a podcast listening audience and they won't all be your audience. So it's a good way to find new audience. If you have friends who are podcasters, and this is a big, big why behind the Podcast Empire membership, is because I actually am intending, and I'm in the process of setting up a podcast network that will be called Podcast Empire. And I'm sure that many of my members will want to be part of the network, and there'll be many more podcasters who will want to be part of the network. Haven't quite decided how it's going to work yet, but the whole thing behind the network effect is that the reason networks work is because they bring together a bulk number of podcasts that are all targeting a similar audience, and then they use each other's shows to promote the other shows. They use hosts who will be interviewed or co-host on multiple shows, so that if you really enjoy one host, you'll then more likely go and listen to other hosts. So you don't have to join a network to get this effect. If you were in my membership community, this is exactly what we're doing in March. We're actually asking each other to promote our show on their show, or have us on as a guest, or share our show on social media. So if you have a network of podcasting buddies, how can you guys support each other and interview each other and guest swap and promote each other's show, or do a little ad on your show for their show? So, I mean, I do this all the time. I have referred my members for interviews. I have mentioned their shows on my show. I mention lots of shows on my show that I really enjoy. I've written articles. I did a series recently for Well and You on wellness and leadership podcasts that I created playlists, 4 different playlists. And I included in those playlists some of my tribe who had aligned podcasts in the space. So there's lots of things we can do to really lift the profile of each other, and it's great to kind of develop these little referral circles, and it's a unique way to do it. It's not all just about how do I get my head around Facebook and promoting my show on Facebook. So think about the relationships that you already have and how you can use those to grow your show. And third and finally, The thing you can do to grow your show is to think about SEO. If you're like me, the words, the initials SEO probably make you kind of go, I don't get it. But it's really simple. The thing to think about is there are components of your show that are highly searchable, and if you use good search engine optimization practices, will help your show get found organically in the podcasting apps, particularly in iTunes, the mothership. Now, my friend Kate Toon, who is part of the podcast Empire, he has a really amazing podcast called The Recipe for SEO Success. And she has given me on the download that her very next episode, which isn't live yet, will be all about SEO for your podcast title, for your podcast. So definitely go and subscribe to Kate's show and listen to that episode. I heard Kate talk about this at We Are Podcast. It was a fantastic presentation, one of the best of the 2 days. And a couple of the things that I want you to kind of take away from what I learned from her is, firstly, your talent name is searchable. Like, you've got to use the fields that iTunes gives you to be sharing what your show is about. Some people don't even put a description of their show into the podcast app, which drives me crazy. But your talent name is searchable, so people can find you. I think a lot of people have got in trouble recently because they copied, I think it was John Lee Dumas that started this, where he put as the talent name, John Lee Dumas interviewed Pat Flynn, Amy Porterfield, and just basically used that field to name drop, which then people have seen that he did it, so they've started doing it and they're getting banned. Apple doesn't like you trying to take advantage of those things, so please don't do it. I am using my real estate, my what do you call it? What did I just call it? The talent. I don't actually think it is the talent area. It's the title, the show title area, which is also searchable. The underneath the show title is the talent name. So I'm actually in iTunes now, and I'm looking at Kate Toon's podcast, and she has Kate Toon, SEO copywriter and SEO consultant, as her talent name. My talent name says something like Katie Wyatt, podcasting mindset, personal branding, women entrepreneurs, and things like that. So use that field, and then finally use the title of your individual shows, because, and I'm sure that you've observed this behavior in yourself, when you are discovering a new podcast, you're often on your smartphone or on the computer in an app, and you'll open up that podcast and there will be a list of episodes that they've produced, and you'll think, oh, there's 162 episodes here. Which one am I going to start with? And you'll start to scroll down, and you will make a decision based on the titles. Nothing drives me more crazy, and so many people do this, but they open their titles with the name of their guest. Now, that's fine if you're interviewing Pat Flynn or Amy Porterfield, but if you're interviewing somebody who is absolutely amazing at what they do, but they're not a household name, people are not going to want to click on that show because they don't know what they're going to get. So be sure to use your title, let people know what they're going to get, title it the way you'd title a blog post. You know, you really want people enticed to click and listen. So that is my 3 ways to grow your podcast audience today, right now, tomorrow, and for the rest of the year. And I would love for you to come and join us in the podcast Empire. It's only $37 a month. You can cancel anytime or join for the year and get 2 months free and get more of this growth goodness, because we're focused on it all year. We have 11 growth zones to focus on, and you've just heard 3 of them. So there's plenty more where they came from, and we're all going to kick some big goals, including my 100K downloads. I'd love to see you there. If you're keen, just go to podcastempires.com and click on Access the Empire. I'd love to see you there, and I'd also love to see you in my Facebook group for podcasters, which is entirely free. It's just a community to hang out and geek out about podcasting, it's at bit.ly/podposse, PODPOSSE. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I absolutely have loved having you. I appreciate you every single day. Even when you don't know that I'm thinking about you, I'm thinking about you. Can't wait to talk next week. We've loved contributing to your empire building today. Please share us with a fellow empire builder so that we can help them too. Remember, #100K Empire Army. Thank you to Luke at The Wellness Pro for production and editing, to all of our guests, and to you, our most important empire building listeners. You should also check out my other podcast, #LadyBoss Chats, where Elle Roberts and I chat all things Lady Boss life. We feel like you've just pulled up a cozy armchair with your biz bestie. Find us in your favourite podcast app or at theladybossproject.com.